Hey y'all, it's the Street Quiz with your girl, Star Jerry, coming soon, live on Boss TV, Satcom Channel 4.
You are watching Boss Media Television.
Black, it's not dark, it's bright. Black is bold. Black is every color, all together. My thing, your thing, our thing mixed together. Black shines brightest.
Before I do my health, I got eating. That club here, me and my chama one dream. That club here we let. Club here so refreshing, baby. Hey, so refreshing, baby. Club here and na ba ba ba. Hey, na ba ba ba.
Beats. We are Club Beer. We are proudly Liberian.
Good morning, and welcome to the weekend edition of the program Boss Talk on Boss Television. Today is Friday, July 7, 2023, and this is the weekend edition. It is a special edition of the program. And as usual, this is where we bring in the experts to discuss trending issues of national concern. My name is Julius Compton. In today's edition, we have two guests. We'll be discussing education, and we'll also be discussing the role of the media in elections. And so we're taking this very short break. When we come back as part of our program, we give you some trending news, just a gist, and then we introduce our first guest and go straightly into the conversation. So welcome to the program.
Hello there. Have you heard about LTC Mobile new 4G internet device? Now listen. LTC Mobile is fresh on the block with its new indoor internet device. It is easy to operate and can work without electricity. Once the battery is fully charged, it takes you up to 9 hours. It is just 99 United States dollars. Guess what? Upon purchase, you can get 1 free month unlimited browsing at a speed of 5 megabytes per second. LTC Mobile is currently in Central Monrovia, Cinco, ELW, Rehab, Bonja, RLJ, Back to St. Mary, VOA, Bourgeois Island, Gardnersville, Johnsonville, Caldwell, and in Diggsville. So if you're in any one of those locations, you can have a ride with LTC Mobile new internet device. It's about time you join the family for the most secure, high capacity, more affordable, more convenient, the fastest speed. Your 0220, no more delays. Your 0220, no more interceptions. Your 0220, no more interrupted calls, and no more buffering networks. We move. You can find any one of our offices on Broad Street, in Pinsville, on 18th Street, on the Bella Casa. Once you get there, tell them Uncle BT sent you. LTC Mobile. Indeed, we're making tomorrow's connections today.
Before I do my health, I got eating. That club here, me and my chama one dream. That club here we let. Club here so refreshing, baby. Hey, so refreshing, baby. Club here and na ba ba ba. Hey, na ba ba ba.
Beats. We are Club Beer. We are proudly Liberian.
Black, it's not dark, it's bright. Black is bold. Black is every color, all together. My thing, your thing, our thing mixed together. Black shines brightest.
Many thanks for rejoining us. This is the program Boss Talk on Boston Television. Let's now start off by bringing you some bit and pieces of information as far as the big news in this country are concerned. On yesterday, the main opposition, Unity Party, held a political gathering in Kakata City, Mangibi County. It was a historic one. Several partisans and supporters of the UP gathered there, and they were, as obvious, discussing, pushing their case for the presidency. As we speak, according to latest information, two candidates have so far presented via nominations their documents, as a matter of fact, to the NEC. Confirmed so far, presidential candidates include incumbent George M. Weah and former Vice President Ambassador Joseph Newman Boaka. And state runs into the Supreme Court in relations to the alleged murder case involving the former the head of the Supreme Court, as the Chief Justice, Councilor Gloria Musu's court. So the state has so far taken another step to the Supreme Court of Liberia relative to that particular case. And on Boss Television, we discuss exclusively Liberian issues. And as a matter of fact, we like to bring you up to speed with this one. Ato Kwekwe, as you may be aware, is the current champions in the 100 meters West Africa. That's the Athletic Federation. He is now representing Liberia in Lomé, Togo. On today, the All ECOWAS Games will begin, and he is leading the Liberian delegation. He is the current defending champions for the 100 meters. That's Ato Kwekwe. And also, from the women's football perspective, Liberia will be hosting the Total Energies qualifiers from the women's perspective, and it will kick off on August 7. The Tommy girls will be representing Liberia. 3 other countries will be participating in the qualifiers by Senegal, Mali, and neighboring Sierra Leone, respectively. We just like to bring you up to speed with those information. We now have in studio our first guest. Is no other person but the Executive Director of Foundation for Research, Education, and Empowerment, Dr. Charles Gboli. He is an educator. Dr. Gboli is a seasoned Liberian journalist, a writer, and a motivational speaker. I'd like to say, Dr. Gboli, welcome to Boss Talk on Boss Television. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. It's an honor, it's a pleasure, it's a blessing to be here. And this reminds me of the dream and aspiration we have of Liberia to see the country transform. And this is one example. We can see the setup and the management. We want to say thanks to the management of this entity and to you people for what you do for the country. This is key to transforming our nation. And thank you for the invitation.
It's good to have you, and thanks for coming as well. Let's start up quickly with your own organization, Free Liberia. What is it all about?
Well, Free Liberia is the foundation for research, education, and empowerment. Most of the time when we say Free Liberia, somebody thinks about politics, especially during this period where we are in the political season. But Free Liberia is purely a non-governmental organization that is in the business of first research which is for the era, because the society we live in, we have to make interventions based on evidence or information we have. I mean, this is not just about moving around, but we're talking about policy formulation, decision making that will help to create change in the society. And we believe that this has been a big gap in our country, providing evidence-driven materials or resources, or using evidence-driven kind of process to inform intervention has been a big challenge. So Free Liberia is one aspect, is to fill that gap, and then we also provide quality education. As we know, education is key to anything we do. It's depending on what we are doing in the education sector that this entity and any other institution in Liberia and even beyond will thrive. And then we also focus on empowering young people, youth focused empowerment. So basically, Free Liberia provides research solutions, build quality education, and youth focused empowerment.
Have you done some research? If so, just give us a gist of what has the results has been so far from the research you've done.
Indeed. One of the studies we've done, we have a big question in the public space with respect to our students. As you know pretty well, we have had students taking WATs, for example, and the issue of performance, why they're doing what, has been a big issue. And most of the time we hear stories like, well, students these days are quote-unquote not serious. Students these days like enjoyment or like Fridays and so many things. And that is what we're trying to avoid in our society because, you know, I was telling a group of educators at a joint education sector review that the medical doctors, when you go to hospital, the doctor will look at your physical appearance and then be able to prescribe something to go to the lab, you know, so that you can do your test properly, and then the decision he will make for what treatment to give you is based on the evidence that will come from the lab. In the education system, most of the time, we rely on our intuitions or our opinions, what we believe, and these opinions and intuitions sometimes mislead us. So we thought that that is a critical issue, so we decided to do a study around student academic performance in the country, doing the study in 2 counties as a starting point, and we're looking at
counties, namely?
Monrovia and Mangibe. Okay. You know, as a case in point to be able to get information on how the students are doing, you know, in terms of performance and what is it like that. And in education, there are variables that can drive. I know there are many inputs, there are many things that can happen, but one of the things across the world that is key is like motivation of an individual. Even at work, the motivation of the staff, the motivation, the driving force that will get somebody even getting started and even make them to stay on and hold on until maybe it's done is one aspect. And another thing is that strategies. When we want to do things, we have to have a system or an approach to be able to go through. And if you use the wrong approach, your results will be wrong results as well, or you may not even get the results that you want to get. And then specifically factors hindering their learning. So that was a key study we're proud of, and it was done, it was published with Education Research International. And just very briefly, we discover in this study that our learners, and part of what is a challenge is that they have some wrong motivation. They have motivation, we call it extrinsic motivation, where most of them want grades. And if you give me a grade, even if I didn't learn anything, you give me 95, you give me an A, I'm okay with it, or you give me a certificate, at the end of the day, you put me on honor roll, they are satisfied with that. And, you know, education is not, it's not like that. You cannot take that A by itself and present it as a fixed price and it gives you results, you know. So we realized that students' motivation is too extrinsic in a way to allow them to do well. And they need to see education beyond the certificate, they need to see education beyond the grade and things like that. And then we'll also try to evaluate the strategies. So say, what strategies are they using? And in you know, based on what you're doing, you get the results. You know, the society is structured like that. Based on how well you are putting in the organization, you are putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, you're putting in, will grant you the opportunity as to whether you make progress or you don't make progress. So like strategies, somebody will want a whole note and memorize it. Memorizing it for the test. Memorizing note for the test will not help you. It will help you to get an A or to pass, but at the end of the day, you are left empty, and now you are going in the outside world, you cannot deliver. So now these are key, because once we know these as educators, we can now say, okay, let's not put emphasis on the grades. In as much as they may be good to clear a particular level, but let's know that this is you developing, you bringing the full potential inside to be able to make the difference in the society, and
So-
such can create a change.
So, as part of the research, were there some recommendations going forward for improvement? If so, what were some of them? Could you name just?
Indeed, and one of them is first, of course, we deal with teachers. In the process of training our teachers, we have to let them know the actual significance or importance of education. I know we may brush that through, but since it is becoming an issue of concern, we have to let teachers know that we are training people not just to give them certificates, not just to give them grades. I mean, you yourself, you can now look at 100 and put it on paper for somebody. I know because of being placed in certain authority, when you put 100 on paper for students, they respect that. But what are they carrying along with 100? So we should be able to, in the process of training our teachers, let them know so that in the process they will not put emphasis too much on grade. Anything you carry small assignment, you have to get the other grade. You give the small activity, you got to give the other stuff, those kind of things. So that's the first aspect of the recommendation. And second, we need to, it's teachable. We can teach people in a way to become more motivated, and we can speak by giving them some sense of hope, giving them some sense of belief in themselves, so that they will be able to do much more. And we think that government, we should pay more attention to programs that will engage learners more into activities and the resources that will help them reach to the level they want in life.
You're watching the program Boss Talk on Boss Television. Our guest in studio is Dr. Charles Wally, Executive Director of Free Liberia. Maybe another time we will discuss more about some of the books he's reading. But today we're talking about general issues relating to education. I'd like to bring you to this point where, according to UNESCO report, 246 million students experience school violence annually in Liberia. And according to that report, that is actually alarming. Let's look at this particular point, and I learned that you've been doing some activities and motivating people or students around that. What do you make of that report as statistics?
Well, it is very alarming, like you said, but it's a global study. The UN entities examine things that go in school, and when you send your child to school, you are like also signing up for an environment where the child will feel secure, where the child will feel safe, where they will be able to grow, to learn, to develop, and to be able to strive and become a better citizen. And you don't want to send your child to school, and at the end of the day, you'll be thinking what is happening at school. Is somebody calling my child names? Is somebody saying words to my child that bringing them down? And so many related cases of such. So one of the things that we have realized is that we have to stop violence, not just in the public space. Now we're talking about election, and this is key, and all of us will have to think about this. I was speaking at a program organized by Liberian elders of the bicentennial, and I was telling them that we need to preserve peace, we need to preserve our existence and be able to protect ourselves from vices, because something that affects Mr. X is indirectly affecting you, because we are so connected. The whole world, in fact, we are very much connected. So the point that engaging in different kinds of violence is not healthy for our society. And then in the school environment, it's even worse. We've gone to Painesville to talk to a group of young people. You remember in 2021, in April 2021, and I don't want to be too specific about this, the incident of a shooting that led to the death of a Liberian child at an international school. And this was like a wake-up call, for us to begin to take actions in a way that the school environment will be protected, because whatever affects education, whatever affects our students, affects all of us directly or indirectly. So the Precious Pierre Ireland Foundation had invited us, the foundation. I mean, the little girl that I was affected as a result of that, and I was quite impressed when the mother visited my office and talked to us how we can collaborate, or we can be able to talk about eliminating violence in school. And now they have series of activities, and I was in Pinsville talking to those young people about the need for us to make sure that we stop any form of violence we find in the environment, whether intentionally or unintentionally. We should not be able to have the school environment that will cause violence. So, I mean, we've been doing some awareness around this, because if we believe our country is to move forward, then we will have a safe and secure society that all of us can be proud of. And in particular, for young people to grow in such a society. And one of the things that I came to a realization was that violence is a bitter seed. The seed that is so bitter because when you sow it, the repercussions of that may even go for generations. You know, the hurt, the burn, you know, and many things. And you create a small society for you. You create a small society even for those associated. So I want to use this time as well to urge all of us listening that this is our own business. All of us must find a way to be peaceful, to be loving, to not hurt another person, because indirectly hurting that person, you'll be hurting yourself.
You're watching Boss Talk on Boss and Television. We will take this a short break. When we come back, we discuss some key issues relative to Liberia's educational sector. So please don't go away.
Hello there. Have you heard about LTC Mobile new 4G internet device? Now listen. LTC Mobile is fresh on the block with its new indoor internet device. It is easy to operate and can work without electricity. Once the battery is fully charged, it takes you up to 9 hours. It is just 99 United States dollars. Guess what? Upon purchase, you can get 1 free month unlimited browsing at a speed of 5 megabytes per second. LTC Mobile is currently in Central Monrovia, Cinco, ELW, Rehab, Bonja, RLJ, Baptist Seminary, VOA, Bourgeois Island, Gardnersville, Johnsonville, Caldwell, and in Diggsville. So if you're in any one of those locations, you can have a ride with LTC Mobile new internet device. It's about time you join the family for the most secure, high capacity, more affordable, more convenient, the fastest speed. Your 0220, no more delays. Your 0220, no more interceptions. Your 0220, no more interrupter calls, and no more buffering networks. We move. You can find any one of our offices on Broad Street, in Pinsville, on 18th Street, on the Bella Casa. Once you get there, tell them Uncle PT sent you. LTC Mobile. Indeed, we're making tomorrow's connections today.
Before I do my health, I got eating. That club, yeah, me and my chama one drink. That club, yeah, we let. Club, yeah, so refreshing, baby. Hey, so refreshing, baby. Club, yeah, and I'm back,
Beats. We are Club Beer. We are proudly Liberian.
Hey y'all, it's the Street Quiz with your girl, Star Jerry, coming soon live on Boss TV, Sacom Channel 4.
You are watching Boss Media Television.
Black, it's not dark, it's bright. Black is bold. Black is every color, all together. My thing, your thing, our thing mixed together. Black shines brightest.
came to me and engaged me, and I said, I know our position matters when we're making statements and what we say, that it is a mess. And this was one of the things that we were talking about before, the issue of if it is a policy statement, if it is a conclusion, then we have to do some thorough investigation to be able to arrive at that. And there is an explanation that should follow that. And of course, this was taken out. And so the context of saying...
do you agree on that?
Well, I mean, not for me to agree or disagree. I believe that we have challenges, but we are not, education system is not a mess. It's not a mess because, number one, those who have graduated from our system have gone out and have made, have been out, be able to outperform many others. Even we study in the system, and we have been able to go out, and hundreds of Liberians have been able to study in the system, and they have been able to make some impact. And even those managing entities in different places have been able to some extent. We are not there yet. We are not compared in terms of general output like Ghana, maybe say some other country like South Africa, or some other big countries. But to conclude that generally we are a mess is a complete condemnation. And that is why I'm saying that it's not for me to agree or disagree, but we have challenges, and that's what I can say.
What are some of the challenges?
Well, the challenges are enormous. We still have budgetary challenge. For example, according to international treaties the government is part of, we are to provide at least 20% of our budget to education. About this time, we are providing little over 12. And the implication of that is that the Ministry of Education cannot be able to provide the necessary needed materials to be able to help the schools. They cannot be able to renovate the schools on time. They can't be able to increase the salaries of teachers to a larger extent, and to even get some learning materials that are needed in the schools. So that is a challenge. Of course, that is a bigger part. We have some other administrative governance related challenges. How can we have a system where those managing the schools, like the EOs, the education officers, whether DEOs or county education officers, going down to the principals of the institutions, how can we strengthen our system to ensure there is transparency and accountability in managing these particular things? And also with the teachers, we have some teachers who are not as qualified as required by the law. And up to present, almost everyone is a teacher in Liberia, and which is very unfortunate. Everyone is a teacher because somebody can get up today who did something maybe in management or in accounting, and they can just go to their church school or to any school and begin to teach. Now, teaching is a profession where you have the theory, but at the same time, you are to have what we call pedagogical skills. The ability to execute is like having knowledge about driving and being able to drive. There are two different things. So we have challenges in those lives, but concluding that, you cannot say it's a mess. And the thing is that if we say it's a mess, then we need to clean the mess. That is my point. I mean, when we make some statements, we should be able to spend as much as we can be able to be able to activate or create that change.
And so we talk about budgetary issues, we talk about training of teachers that will have the passion and
of course,
quality that is needed in order to strengthen the sector. What are some of the good things? Since if we will say it's not a mess generally, because there are some good products as a result of the sector, what are some of the good things you like to highlight?
Well, one good thing is that our students have the potential to strive, to develop. And in spite of some not doing quite well, we still have promising students. Some of them go to school with huge aspiration to be able to learn something to change their life, and they want to be successful in this time and make the difference in the world. I believe that is an opportunity because the learner is willing and the parents are available to be able to provide their resources, their support to the process of education. I believe that is an opportunity. We also have teachers who are willing. The teachers are willing. Now, the challenge there is giving them the training and the resources they need for them to do that. So we can also count that willingness as, part of what could possibly be an opportunity. And many learners who went through the system, and many others went through the system. They also are doing quite well in different areas. Some have been able to go out, and they have been able to learn along with others. So in spite of us having some challenges, we also have some things that we can tap as opportunities to be able to change our system for the better.
Boss Talk. This is the weekend edition, a special edition. Very shortly we'll join in our second guest to talk about the role of the media in elections as we are gradually moving through the crucial 2023 general elections in the country. But currently our guest is Dr. Bolly, and we are discussing the sector. This is a very big, wide discussion, but we will narrow it down. Another time we will delve into other issues. But that the School of Value, there's a new activity you've launched from the end of Free Liberia. What is it all about? What is the impact it's making on the general good of the country?
All right, thank you very much. As part of trying to mitigate the challenges we face in the education sector, we are thinking outside of the box. And there's a quote that we normally use most of the time from Albert Einstein, that insanity is doing the same things in the same way and expecting different results. And of course, each and every day we have to be innovative, we have to be creative, we have to think about entrenched challenges that we face in our society and rise to the occasion to be able to address the challenges. Now, one of the problems we face in education is that in some cases, especially for our system, education does not seem to be working for some people. I find it very disheartening. I mean, sorry for using a strong word, but it's like a social contract. I signed a contract to go through a school system for high school, say 15 to 16, 17 years, to be able to complete that cycle. Or I choose to go to university for another 4 years, and after all that, I can find a job. After all that, I don't have some skills to become marketable. And this is not unique to Liberia. I mean, across the world, there are still people who graduated from institutions and they still struggle. Now, the problem here is that we have the responsibility to make education work for us. Now, coming in, we realize that there is another big problem, and that problem is that you can get education, but there are things that serve as the basis for your education, and we'll call them values, and we'll call them also success habits. That's where the School of Value and Success comes in to be able to close a gap, because in the process of learning what you learn in through school, you may not learn about how to love people. You may not learn about how to interact with other people. You may not learn about, integrity. You may not learn about patriotism. You may not learn about some other things that go along. And without these, in spite of your education, you may be challenged to the level that you will not be able to do quite well. And besides that, success is another angle. Of course, it's the utilization of what you may have learned in school, but we should have means to be able to, in a way, learn from some of those, to see different things, strategies, steps they went through to be able to become successful. So under the School of Value and Success, our major focus first is to be able to cultivate values that help people, values that help people to become a part of the society, or to succeed with integrity, to succeed on a good footing, that we don't have to think about trying to corrupt the system or jump the stuff. We can succeed and sleep at night peacefully, and then we can also learn from those who have succeeded. Now, in this world, the good thing about it is that there are some things that happen before, the good ones. And those things that happen before, in fact, the Bible says that they are for us to learn. So that through that means we can have hope. Through that means we can have the opportunity for ourselves to make it as well. So we teach values, different values that we should uphold as human beings. And then in addition to that, we also delve into what have made Mr. X, Mrs. Y, and this person and that person successful in the society. So that serves as the base under the School of Value and Success. Before we move into a particular course contents that will allow a person to explore what they want to explore, because generally you want to be valuable in the society, and then second, you also want to be somebody who will be successful at that. But if you don't learn success, you cannot get success because you went to school. If you don't learn to become valuable, you cannot just become valuable in that way without being schooled in that particular school in that particular area. So the School of Value and Success is focusing on building values and helping people become successful while enhancing different skills that they want to develop.
How are they, the students or Liberians in general, embracing this, and what are other things moving into them?
Well, this has been wonderful. I mean, we have a lot of testimonies. Currently, the first cycle we just started this in May, around the middle part of May, and we have 3 different areas which I will talk about shortly. But it has been like an eye opener to say, wow, where have we been all this while, or what is it that an idea like this didn't come up? You know, when you want to be a particular person, maybe successful in media, so the people who have been successful in the media business, so that you will be able to learn what are those things they're doing, so you yourself, you can start. This is not copying, this is being intentional about your own change and about your development, and this has been very transformative. It has been very rewarding to be able to expose people to different values they need to learn, and then different things that they also need to learn. One important thing, please, I forget about this, is that we also provide a learning package. Okay, we put together, apart from our 3 books we've written, we also put together a package that consists of a lot of books. You know, the open media, there are some open resources now that you can be able to explore and be able to package them so that people can now begin to listen, people can now begin to take note. And these are the things we want to see in our society. We want to create a society that will be very competitive, and not just that, we will not just be citizens of our nation, but we can also become global citizens, because we all live in one global village, and I see the whole world now like being borderless. You can stay in Liberia now as you are on this television, you know, to be seeing all over the place, the recording on different areas. I mean, on YouTube, you know, so you can just be right here. Once you can do your song or you can do your job well, anything you're doing so well, it can be able to impact the society. So it has been quite remarkable, and we even look forward to sharing their testimonies even as we go deep into the program, the School of Value and Success, as a training aspect on the Free Liberia.
So that's the Executive Director of Free Liberia, Dr. Charles Bolly, would like to announce, unfortunately, that we will not get in our second guest. Hopefully, subsequent week, we will have him on the program. And so we will wrap it up with our current and only guest for today's edition of the program, Boss Talk on Boss on Television. So exclusively, we are discussing education. My name is Julius Compton, and that there is this general statement that one of the major problems affecting Liberia on a general level is the high illiteracy rate. What's your own take on that?
Well, for that I agree. You know, no society can rise above the number of people educated and how well they are educated. And of course, some go through education, but because of other factors or misunderstanding of education, in a way, they also are not fully educated. Now, I mean, it's sad to say this, but that's just the reality. Now, somebody could go through high school and you can write with comprehension, and you can be able to form part of a serious discourse, or your mind has not been fully transformed, and that is a challenge. And that's why we continue to emphasize that education is everybody's business. And when I talk about education, I discuss it from the angle of creation, because the Creator made us and given us the opportunity to be able to continue the process. Like somebody giving birth to, that person has the potential, but until that potential is cultivated through education, whether it's formal education in particular or through informal education, it can be very difficult for that person to realize their full potential. So we need to prioritize and go through education to be able to allow us reach our fullest potential, to transform our thinking, to be able to refine how we consider things. So education, the high illiteracy rate in general is hampering the country in so many ways, because the thinking of the people, the appreciation, the decision they make, like now we are going through election and different other things, the steps people take to be able to create change in the society, how far did they think and all that, it can be a big challenge. That is why you will not see any developed country in the world that doesn't have high literacy rate, because for people to be able to take responsibility, they must be educated.
How can we move on with that? How can we graduate from that level of illiteracy? What are some of the key factors we can push forward? Well,
there are different levels. Now, the mainstream formal education, we have to be very serious about it. Very, very serious. I know sometimes we talk about these things, and then but the actual work we put into make it happen can sometimes be very difficult too. Now, to do that, it is not as difficult as we think, because sometimes it's the thinking that can make things, like some people go with the perspective or the attitude that Liberia, this cannot happen, this cannot, and that thought by itself begins to cripple people, to be able to bring people down. So we have to know that we can make things happen here, because we have the power inside of us to make it happen. Now, for me, there are few things we can prioritize, apart from putting the aspect of increasing the budget. Our investment on education, while we invest in education, it should be higher than whatever we invest anyway. I mean, as particular sector and other, if you're comparing, you can compare security, you can compare another area, because it is the health sector, not health sector, the education sector that will affect every other sector. What we do in education affects health, affects security, affects media, and all that. So we have to give it that. And of course, when we give the resources, we are intentional and deliberate and accountable in the use of the resources, starting from there. But then moving into the mainstream system, we have been able to categorize the problem into access, into quality, and governance. Now, access is the availability of a school with the facilities, with things that go into that school.
Do we have that in place on the average?
Well, that's where the challenge is. I mean, we still have schools that barely have enough chairs. We still have schools, the painting, the lighting, and other issues around that. So, and some people still walk long distances to be able to access a school, and we have the free and compulsory education, but because of that access issue, we are not started the compulsion, the force part of people have to carry their children to school. So that's one issue we need to deal with. But the major one is quality. Quality is key, because whatever we do without quality, we lose it. We lose the process. So one thing on the teachers, now the teachers need to be professionalized. They need to be professionalized. There is a law, the education law of 2011. This law provides for different things that should happen in the education sector. But then the implementation of this law to a larger extent had not come to reality. And one thing that is of key interest to me, which as I continue to speak at this program and at events, that everything rises and falls on teachers in the education system. And that is why the education law of 2011 provides that we should be able to, anyone who will teach is certificated, which means you have a certificate and you have a lessons to teach. In the absence of that, you have a loose system. I mean, having anybody
So what is happening now?
that is the main problem. I mean, once the system is as loose as it is, in my opinion, it will be difficult to deliver. Now, Julius, right now, if you choose to say, okay, I have some time after Boss TV, I want to teach one subject here, you may get, I'm just be saying that you, as it is, somebody may not be a trained teacher, getting the aspect of the training, and then go in the classroom. And it happens around different areas. And sometimes that person will be in that process and get the job in their area, they have their specialization, and then move there. So work in and work out profession cannot be able to deliver on the mandate it has. Everybody can be a professional in the profession.
How can we mitigate that?
Yes, it's implement the law. Implement the law by ensuring that teachers are licensed to teach. People are licensed to teach. And I was in the ministry myself after I returned with PhD myself for 3 years, trying to put this center together to be able to have this take place. There's a policy now in place. The center itself, what is needed to be done, and we need to just move with this. And then gradually we begin to, those new people we employ. Yeah, some people trained as teachers, they are not in the system because we continue to open it in that manner. So we have to focus our attention on ensuring that teachers are licensed to teach and then giving the necessary incentives and materials to be able to do that.
So is it that we do not have the necessary decision makers, those that are supposed to move things forward, or is it that we are now implementing fully the laws and so that things can work as it should?
Well, I think it's the implementation. I know it's not unique to the education sector. The implementation of the laws we put in place. Now, before a law is carved, is passed, is printed into handbill and is out, people look at the necessity and the need and how that law is going to make the difference. Now, when we go through all that and then allow that to be on the shelf and to just be there and taking dust, then the actual intent we've had to make sure that law will work for us will not be accomplished. And I believe that we need to see this as an aspect of redeeming a dying profession, an aspect of redeeming a system that is challenged. We have to put more attention on having the right people in the classroom, train people, and then be able to time to time motivate them and then have them undertake or go through different processes to be able to make the system work. So we believe that we need to muster the courage to be able to implement the policies and programs that we have put into place, because those things, we are the one that put them. If we don't act on them, they are not like natural law. Like natural laws, these are laws, they take care of themselves. If the law of gravity is available that you can't jump through the window here, when you jump, immediately the law will deal with you. And the other systems are working because of that. Now, when people travel, when we travel to other places, there are systems in place, and we try to put these systems in place and let the system, stay by themselves. We're not doing ourselves fairly.
I'm sorry for the interruption. You spoke about budgetary issue, which is key. Also, there are some people who are already trained in the sector, but because they aren't receiving that attractive salary to commensurate with their training or education, they've got the setback. And as a result, we are not getting the quality that you are speaking about.
That is very true. That is very true. Now, we have the Rural Teacher Training Institutes.
In
Zorzor, and then So these institutes, plus the University of Liberia, the College of Education, and other entities that are also training teachers, every year we have new teachers coming in. So actually, if we can have a system of bringing in, I know people have been retired, and a system of upgrading and making sure professionals get in the classroom. That's why we advocating the implementation of the law on teacher licensing and school accreditation, making sure that schools are standardized, because once we can start to put such system in place, we can now easily manage our resources to motivate people. Like some have been in the system, say to start in education is required you to have C certificate. And then now the person has upgraded to B or to even BSc, and then they still getting the salary for the C certificate. I mean, that's demotivating. And of course, the temptation is that if I'm doing something, though we emphasize the part of sacrifice we all of us try to do, but I mean, you can't sacrifice beyond your children staying at home and your woman want to leave you because you can't provide food, money, and other things that you're supposed to do. And we may ask for these things. Are we asking to, can we do such a thing? So we can create a system in place where we can be able to promote that motivation and allow the growth process that people go through to commensurate with different actions they have. And these things contribute to the change that we want to see. There are some smaller improvement in the results, but I believe that we can make bigger changes.
And one of
the
best ways is for us to keep talking and pushing and making sure that constructive engagements, dialogues, as well as taking in some of the recommendations to the duty bearers will indeed help the sector generally to move Liberia forward. This is the program Boss Talk, and it's the weekend edition. That as we wrap things up now, what could be your own word of caution and advice to? We talked a lot about the teachers, the governance aspect. Let's look at the students. What could be a word of caution or advice to the students who are faking in some of these materials?
Well, for the students, one of the things that I normally tell students, especially in a period as this, and I talk about it when I discouraging people against violence, is that all of us have something to lose during the period of violence. But you as a young person, you as a student, you have everything to lose. Now, it's the same thing with education. We have things to lose if we don't educate our population. If we don't educate people to be ready to deliver, we all have something there to lose. But then you have everything to lose. The everything is that your future will not be quite well. Your today will not be quite well. Your children and others you may bring in this world, things may not go well with them because of what you are not getting right now. So one thing I can tell you is that if you live in a system that is challenged, you have to find a way to build up and compensate or do something that will push for that. Maybe for some unqualified teachers, you need to find a book and be studying at home. Be engaged in productive activities because your future is what you are building. If you play with it and you don't learn well, tomorrow you'll see other people up and you may find yourself down. So I'm also asking, and every time I speak to students, I urge them to take responsibility of their learning. Others are providing help, the parents are providing help, the teachers are providing help, and others are providing help. But in particular, the students also, they have a responsibility to study, they have a responsibility to go the extra mile, and that's even what I advise for even those at university level, and I did that, when I was doing my program, I used to check at top universities to say, okay, if this person is in MIT or in Harvard or Oxford, at my level, they are also doing masters. What are the things they are doing? Perhaps I may not be getting here. You have to step out. The good thing about our world right now is that we are living in information age, and the technology is available. You may say no data, but some of the data you use for lifestyle, for your birthday to go live, and for you to go live or spend time on Facebook, you can do some and get some resources to be able to help you. And if you're quite interested in your personal development, visit our office, Free Liberia. We have a package we're giving out for free. And in fact, even our 3 books, we are giving the electronic copies free of charge, because we want you to learn when you develop yourself, first you benefit, but the society and the world generally will also benefit. So that's my message to you as a young person, as a parent. Let us keep learning, let us keep advancing, because the more we know, the better our chances to make contribution to the society.
Thank you very much, John. It was nice having you on the program.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for the opportunity. We want to urge Liberians as we go to election. I didn't say anything about the election, but as we go to the election, let us note that all of us have a common denominator, Liberia. In spite of the differences or other vices or other things we are connected to, let us see the bigger picture. Let's keep this election free, fair, transparent, and also non-violent, so that our country can be able to transition, because without peace, without tranquility, it is impossible to transform our nation and even transform our lives. Thank you once again.
That's how I would like to do it on this entire week edition of the program Boss Talk. He has been our weekend guest, Dr. Charles Bolly. He's the Executive Director for the Foundation for Research, Education and Empowerment, Free Liberia for short. He is an educator, the motivational speaker, a journalist, and an author. We've been discussing generally the educational sector of Liberia, some of the challenges, recommendations to improve it. Join us on Monday for the fresh edition of the program. Many thanks to all of those who helped in making this weekend and the entire week edition a success. Boss Talk is taking its weekend break to be back on Monday. Until that time, I'm Julius Conton. Please have yourself a wonderful and God bless weekend. Bye-bye for now.
Black, it's not dark, it's bright. Black is bold. Black is every color all together.